Welcome, Randy. Welcome to the show. I'm thrilled to have you. I'm a bit of a fan. I joke off on the show here that I really only do this to talk to people I want to talk to, it's like cool people, and I've been on my list for a while. But I wish we were meeting under like peaceful and not different circumstances. But it's just been a crazy 4 months. I know you've been busy as hell. You've been the fight for teachers and publications or public education since 1986. And I don't know if you know this. I grew up in Kirkwood, Missouri, after Brown v. Board of Education led to our district here in Kirkwood being desegregated. And of course, I lived in St. Louis, where the infamous desegregation academies kind of exploded in the 60s and 70s. So I actually have a personal long history of watching this battle unfold right here in
Right.
my hometown. Do you feel like, in your perspective, and you've been in this a while, I mean, do you feel like maybe this moment is the culmination of that long fight against public education? Do you kind of think they see victory in their path and that's why they're going so hard?
Well, I kind of think that they see that they're putting their foot on the accelerator
Yeah.
on a path that they have taken since the Brown decision. But
Yeah.
frankly, far from victory in their path. I mean, they're they're con- they're completely they're trying to use the federal budget, particularly education, as a piggy bank for vouchers and the
Yeah.
dismantlement and fragmentation of education and the fragmentation of pluralism. It's not, I think you're right that they have their foot on the accelerator, but it's because they don't see victory in their path.
Ah.
Because what has happened is that people want public schools.
Yeah.
They understand they may not be involved or engaged in the big battle of pluralism and the rule of law and democracy, but they see what public schools do is we deal with every single child, we try to meet the needs of every child, and we try to make a difference in every child's life, and we try to create a safe and welcoming and engaging and relevant curriculum regardless of what gets thrown at us. And frankly, for most parents, there's not any other institution that's trying to do that, in
Yeah.
the choice issues. It's actually the school's choice, not the parents' choice.
Yeah.
So bottom line, we're like 70 to 80% of people in America want public schools and
Right.
want them to be funded well and want them to work for their kids. So it's like throw everything you can throw at us, smear us, vilify us, defund us. But at the end of the day, that's what people want and need. And let me say one more thing, Fred, which is I've been looking forward to this, as you can tell,
Oh.
for a while. Which is, it doesn't mean that we don't have to strengthen public schools. We have to constantly make them better, and we
Yeah.
have to do the things that work for kids and prepare kids for life, for career, for college, for their aspirations. But these folks, the Trump people, it's not the Trump people, it's Trump and the billionaires that
Yeah.
they just want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. and
Yep.
and they and look, Chris Rufo gave up the plot. He basically said to create universal vouchers. Sorry, I am paraphrasing because he's already tried to sue me once. To to
There's
to
that.
create universal vouchers. So yes, Mr. Rufo, I am paraphrasing you. To create universal vouchers, you have to create universal public school distrust. And at another point in that same speech, he said you have to be ruthless and brutal. Really? That's what we're doing to our kids? Ruthless and brutal, not safe and welcoming? Give me a break. So I represent the people who are working with parents to help their kids thrive. Period.
And they do. I'm a public school kid, and my kids are public school kids, and and it's so key to everything we do. And you realize just won a very important court battle with the injunction to stop this dismantling of the Department of Education. I
Yeah.
mean, let's start at the top of that issue. Why are they so eager to destroy Department of Education specifically? I mean, they're going right after this. They've not had Project 2020. I talked about it. Then this was a number one goal. And then Linda
Yeah.
McMahon came in from day one and said, "We're going to destroy. We're going to dismantle this thing." I mean, it's why DOE. So they've always hated it.
So there's a couple of reasons. First off, they've always hated it since the civil rights bills, and
Yep.
they didn't like it being in one department together. So, they've always hated it since Brown. But let's there's two reasons. One is the pragmatics, which I'll talk about in a second. But the bigger reason is that since basically education gets done on the state and local level, think about this crew versus think about the people who founded the country. The
Right.
people who founded the country really believed that people needed, now they didn't believe all people, but they believed that people needed education to be civically engaged so that they could discern fact from fiction, so that they could understand the importance of a democracy. And
Yeah.
founder after founder, framer after framer, talked about that. Compare that to this administration, which basically wants to take opportunity away from people. So on the
Yeah.
just on the big um level of how it looks and how it feels, how are you as a president of the United States, when the states basically control education, why would you want to take away as opposed to invest in the opportunities that help fuel the next generation? Why?
Yeah.
How? Why? It's the first we should be out competing our competitors, which means you have to out educate them.
Yep.
Why? And so why spend the money? For example, Donald Trump yesterday just said, well, let's take the money from Harvard and put them into trade schools.
Yep.
Well, why are we not in your reconciliation bill? Why didn't you actually add money for career tech ed? You say that that's something that you want. It's
Right.
something we know how to do. Why did you not add money for career tech ed? Why are you just taking it from somebody? And why would you do it for these for profits who have been terrible, as opposed to doing it in community colleges and in high schools? So one is the big picture, that they're pulling away opportunity for all kids. And the
Yeah.
second is the pragmatic, which is if they break it, if they make it not work, if they defund it, if they say, oh, yeah, there's supposed to be an obligation for our kids with disabilities, but no, we no longer have an OCR that's going to, an Office of Civil Rights going to help you parent. And no, we don't have money either. So if they break it, then people feel like they have nowhere to go. So they'll go to a private school, even though it's going to cost them thousands and thousands more. So the
Right.
pragmatics, they just want to break it. But symbolically, why would you do that to the next generation, regardless of your ideology?
And the answers get very dark very fast at the same time as they're rolling back child labor laws and OSHA safety laws. I mean, it gets very dark and dystopian very
Yeah,
quickly,
yeah,
starting at Department of Education in my mind. And
yeah.
I'm sure that's where the fight is. Now, another
Snap,
aspect, go
snap,
ahead,
taking
snap.
away all
Right.
this and literally,
Right.
we're now saying that people are going to have to do so much paperwork. If you look at the big ugly bill, so much paperwork that it will dissuade people from filing for Medicaid. So much of an overhaul on nutrition. So basically, we're taking away that thing that gives about 1/3 of kids medical care. We're taking away nutrition. And what are the Republicans saying? They're saying that's for a tax break that basically Trump has already given people, except for the billionaires. So it's creating $6 trillion of more debt. It's giving the billionaires a lot of tax breaks. It's given tokenism to basically everybody else. And it's hugely taking away the safety net from the poor middle class.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most shocking things. I'm still in shock that they decided that a dependent child is not 18; it's 7. That over the age of 7, they're not dependent children anymore. I mean, it's not hard to see the slippery slope that leads to
Yeah.
that. You mentioned debt and credit, and another aspect of debt and credit is this story that came out from the Washington Post this weekend. If you saw it, where with having to do with student loans, and now they've kicked student loans back in. They've kicked back in credit reporting. And what was shocking to me, this chart I'll show you, it says the Washington Post reported credit scores dipped by more than 100 points for 2.2 million delinquent student loan borrowers. 150 points for more than 1 million in the first 3 months of 2025. This is the kind of credit score drop follows a personal bankruptcy filing. Roughly 2.4 million of those Americans previously had favorable credit scores. So now there's been a huge, this chart shows an uptick in rejections for mortgages, credit cards, car loans, everything else. So again, another aspect of this fight over education is the entire economy is, when you talk about 24 million, 2.4 million people, that's how it is so insidious, isn't it?
So this is a really important chart, and let me unpack the federal policy that leads to this. Because you're going to hear people say, oh, no, this is, because we told people they had to pay their loans.
Right.
Frankly, no, that's not why. We told people that they had to pay their loans months and months and months ago.
Right.
What ended up happening is that as people were told that the COVID moratorium was over, Biden created a new kind of income repayment plan so that your repayment of student loans could be based upon the income that you were receiving as opposed to what the nut actually was. And
Right.
and that was called the SAVE plan.
Right.
Mohila, one of the biggest student loan operators, went into court immediately with various different Republican AGs to stop the SAVE plan, to actually stop it. Now, we kept saying to the Department of Education and to the Biden people, yes, you're being stopped. Have something else that's there for people so that they can opt into it if they want to. They didn't do that until the very end. Now, they should have. But what happened when this administration came in is they actually got rid of SAFE. They actually never told people what their options were in terms of repayment. And then they sent everything to the creditors. So they don't tell people what their options are. They take everything off of the website. So unless you had a paper record, you have no idea what you're supposed to be paying. And then they sent everything to the credit agencies for repayment. And we had to sue them to basically even get the information out there. So they created this mess themselves. This new administration created this mess for people because people have no idea. 45 million people. Most people have no idea what they owe. They couldn't see it on the website. It goes to the credit rating and credit agencies, collection agencies, and now you see this event, what has happened. No
Right.
wonder young people feel like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But this administration, instead of making it easier for young people, instead of making the process better, they immediately, I mean, how do you immediately, before you make sure that people can pay up for several months, how do you go to credit agencies immediately? How do you go to collection immediately and care about young people? And this is 45 million people.
It's a
So
staggering
it's
number. And
their
that chart,
policies that
it shocked
created
me.
this chart. Not and like, if you don't know what you owe, how do you know what to pay? And then a credit collection people say, "Oh, you didn't pay your student loan."
It's shocking. And again,
It's cruel.
it's
It's
well, that's it. It's
cruel.
cruelty. It's
It's
cruelty as
cruel.
policy.
It's
Yeah.
dehumanizing. And it basically is saying we're not helping our young folks. We're not helping our next generation get ahead.
Yeah.
We're just
Yeah.
making things harder for them.
And the thing is, it's
Sorry.
another example. No,
I'm
that was
so
great.
angry at this.
That's why I served it up. I saw that chart. I mean, honestly, I've been in this fight, against the Trump administration since the first time. I'm an old Lincoln Project guy. I mean, it's hard for me to be shocked. I mean, you're the same way, I'm sure at this point. But that one chart just slapped
Yeah.
me across the forehead. And there's
And
other
it's
charts. So
Yeah,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
sorry.
Yeah.
No,
No, no,
there
we're
are,
great.
but that's why that's why that's one of the lawsuits we brought. Which, like,
Yeah.
put the information back on the website. Like, tell people what they owe. Most people
That's
want
it.
to pay, but
Yeah.
they had, if you're not if your nut for your student loan is $1,000 a month, and you get a job that pays you $50,000 a year, you want these income repayment plans that enable you to reduce. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to pay it longer, but enable people to reduce that
Yeah.
nut for the month so you can afford your rent, so you can actually try to buy a house or you can get married. And that's what these income repayment plans are about. They're not trying to get over on the government. It's
No.
basically a way of affording your post-secondary education.
And it is the American Dream attack. And that goes to the next part, attacks on people. Like so many Trump actions, his supporters are the ones going to suffer the most from this, right? We
Correct.
know this.
Correct.
They want to spin
Correct.
the college loan thing as the rich people. But this is another chart that I think this was on, you were on MSNBC a couple months ago and they threw
I
this
mean,
up.
the
This
college
is the
loan
people
people,
I mean,
the
look at that
college loan,
chart.
yeah. I mean, this is what, and this is K-12. In
Right.
terms of K-12, virtually, what all of us have tried to do, because I've been in this work of education for a long time,
Yeah.
is if you say that Title I goes to poor kids, you don't say, oh, it goes to poor kids in New York because it's a blue state.
Right.
You say it goes to poor kids wherever those kids are.
Right.
And when you see then the chart, you see that the disproportionate amount goes to states that have historically voted Republican or
Yeah. I
have
mean,
voted Republican in the last 10 years. And
Mississippi, South Dakota,
yeah,
Arkansas, Montana,
exactly right. And so
there's a,
that's where and this is where the federal dollar for education goes.
yeah.
So why would you hurt your own voters? And so that's why I think what you're seeing is they haven't yet appealed the decision, like what the decision that said get the damn forms back on the website. They
Yeah.
agreed to that. The Justice Department agreed to that. The decision that said do not stop conditioning current aid on whatever you think your whims are about what diversity, equity, inclusion means. I mean,
Yeah.
stop conditioning it on this new lens. This money went out for specific purposes, like for reading,
Yeah.
reading specialists. Stop conditioning it. Let people spend the money on the things that they're supposed to spend it on, which is educating kids. So that decision they haven't yet appealed.
Yeah.
And so thank God, at least for right now, that money that goes to Mississippi, we fought for that money to stay in Mississippi.
Yeah, yeah, and you did along those lines. We were talking about Oklahoma's in that chart, I think number 4. You all just won a huge victory with the Supreme Court ruling that
Yeah.
stopped Oklahoma's attempt to use public school money for religious-based charter schools. That was a real test of. I mean, again, it's funny. The reason I was eager to talk to you too, because I'm an old veteran, right? And we've been saying a lot in this last 4 months that so many issues end up hurting veterans, right? Like the Harvard cuts hurt veterans because with suicidality studies, cancer studies, but the same way on the other side, education's the same way, right? These
Yeah.
decisions affect us. So the idea of a church, public money going to a church, religious based school, that is a huge constitutional issue at this point. It was a real test, wasn't it?
It is. I mean, look, I say this, I am married to a rabbi. I
Mm,
am a practicing Jew.
yeah,
I like going to services on Shabbos. I can't believe I have to say that,
yeah,
but I believe in our Constitution that basically says two things: that to ensure the free exercise of religion, there's no establishment of a religion in the United States of America. And so what the Oklahoma um, law did was essentially try to end run that and
yeah,
basically say, oh no, we are establishing a preference for a religion, and we are going to take federal funds or state funds and allow state funds to actually teach religion in this charter school. And no, we're not going to let everybody into this charter school. It's just going to be our little thing.
yeah.
And and so the court, I mean, it was a very divided court, and Justice Barrett, didn't participate,
Recused.
so it was
Yeah.
4-4. But the decision from which meant that the decision below held, and sorry to be so lawyerly or civics
No, no,
civics
it's okay.
101
So
right
we do
now,
on this show, man. We're getting in
but yeah,
there.
but the Oklahoma Supreme Court decision, which is the highest court in Oklahoma, was really prophetic about this and was
Yeah.
very strong about how this is an end run on the Constitution, and why in the United States. In the United States, we are one of the most religiously inclined nations in the world. Why? Because we enable a free exercise and we separate out church from state. And
Yeah.
that's part of what enables free exercise.
Yeah, and another and I know you're getting short on time, but I do want to talk about the big ugly ass bill. I mean, that just passed. It's gone to the Senate. I mean, you
Yeah.
guys just put a press release out about it. There's some really evil stuff buried in there too. What's buried in that bill that really is going to impact our education and average Americans that you guys are very concerned about right now?
Well, there's a lot of things that are buried in that bill that ought not to be in a budget
Yeah,
bill. Like, for example, saying that the courts, trying to basically say that the courts have no enforcement ability, so that there's no check and balances on the on this administration. I mean, everyone who is in Congress swears to uphold the Constitution. The
yeah,
Constitution says there are three co-equal branches of government, and they want to basically say that the one branch of government that's basically trying to be a check and balance, they want to take that branch out. So that's
right,
snuck into this bill. But what this bill does, and everybody's going to find something they like in this bill and something they hate in this bill.
right,
Like, I mean, yeah, I don't believe there should be taxes on tips. I'm glad Harris, raised that as well. But what we really should have is a working class tax cut. We should have a
right,
working class tax cut, not a
right,
billionaire's tax cut. And what the bill essentially does is it makes permanent the Trump tax cuts from before, which basically helped the billionaires and the millionaires. And then what it does, so it essentially, the highest 10% in the land get the biggest bang for their buck, particularly those who make over $4 million seem to get about a $400,000 tax benefit. The people who make the least, under $50,000, they could actually pay more taxes. And then how does it finance this? One, it increases the debt by $6 trillion. And even with that increase, it also hugely hurts people, meaning it uses education as a piggy bank for this
yep,
new tax shelter for the rich on vouchers.
yep,
Second, it takes from our account about 14 million people off of either Medicaid, Medicare, or actually Medicaid. You can take somebody off Medicare and you can just make it so you can just undermine it so much. And it basically strips out all of the affordable care monies and tax benefits. It basically makes this whole student debt stuff I talked about before even harder, because it takes away all of the subsidies that people have gotten. And then the last thing it does is it remakes nutrition aid. So
right,
if you're really trying to make ends meet and your family makes less than $50 to $75,000 a year,
yep,
you are double, triple, and quadruple screwed by this bill.
yep,
Period. That's why I call it the big ugly. So
yeah.
it's just it, and who's the beneficiaries? The rich.
And that's the story for all of it. It
Yeah.
just keeps circling back. I mean, this is a class war in every
Yeah.
way,
Did it
and
did
that's
it
what we're
help?
doing.
Did it
Yeah,
help the places where, like when they took away all of SNAP, the state and local tax return? Did it put some
no,
of it back? Yeah, it put some of it back. But give me a break. we should have gotten the whole why are the states that actually fund services paying for this tax break for the rich?
Yeah. It's funny. You're going to find a weird ally in all this. I interviewed Ken Casey, the lead singer and frontman for Dropkick Murphys, the Irish punk band. And you should watch. I'll show you. I'll send you a clip. But this is, Ken's saying things like, this is what we've been fighting for 30 years. It's not even political at this point. It's
Yep.
taking away from good, hardworking people. Union. They're obviously very passionate about union. I mean, union. It's like the
Yeah.
band of unions, and they're like, look, this is taking away. This is class warfare being waged against average Americans and lower, and poor Americans to make the rich even more ridiculously rich.
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's
Now,
class warfare and it's a
in
war
every
on
way.
knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'd be remiss. I know you've got to go. You've got a book coming out in September.
I do.
So I got the cover here. Tell us about the book. And I love the title. I'm going to have you back, obviously. So tell the team.
Thank you.
I think it gives away the title.
Well, look, I mean, I've been in this work for a long time, and I have met, I mean, forget for a second my own teaching. Put that
Yeah,
aside for a second. I have met some of the most or the most remarkable people in life who are school
yeah,
teachers, who basically meet kids' needs, who create safe and welcoming environments, who try to imagine a world for kids that, so that they see their aspiration in front of them and they not only dream their dreams, but try to find ways to achieve them. That's who teachers are. That's what they do. And so I kept on wondering why this war on knowledge? Why this vilification of teachers? Why this constant undermining of public education? And so I've been thinking about this for a while, and I just felt whoever won this election, actually just had to answer the question.
yeah,
Why are authoritarians and fascists and oligarchs, why do they fear teachers? And
yeah,
why do they try to undermine public education? And so I try to answer that question in the book. They
yeah,
fear, I mean, unlike the founders, they fear critical thinking, problem solving, the fact that we try to create, instead of division and anxiety, a safe and welcoming environment, opportunity. They don't want broad-based opportunity for our kids. And frankly, the other reason is, we are the most densely organized profession in America, and
yeah.
they don't like unions.
Yep.
So but it's really from from um, talking about what happened in Norway at the onset um, of the Nazis occupying that land
Yeah.
to now. This is who teachers are. They make a difference in the lives of kids, and I wanted to lift them up.
That's a great place to finish, and we appreciate that. Again, as
Thank
as
you.
a father and a grandfather of kids in public schools, I am a fan and envy and appreciate the work you do. So, thank you so much for your time, Randy. I appreciate it. I've been
Thank
eager
you,
to talk
Fred.
to you.
Really
I just
appreciate
can't
you.
thank you enough. And now, since it's all the way till September when the book comes out, you're gonna have to come back
Thank you. Thank you.
and
And
talk about the book.
people can pre-order.
Yep,
It's on a bunch of those places that you
yep.
pre-order if you want to. So
I'll
people
put it up in the
can. So
blurb.
thank you.
I'll put it up in the blurb. I'll put it in my Substack as well,
Thank
so
you.
people can find it. So click right out Random House. They'll pick it up. Randy, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, team, for setting us up. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you,
best of luck
Fred.
in this fight. Let's keep up the fight.
Thank you for doing what you're doing. It's really important. Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Take care.